A lot of the time as creatives, we are trying to figure things out on our own. We're working individually, we're trying to make decisions, we're trying to do the right things in our business, and it can be difficult to know if we're doing the right thing, if other people are feeling this, if we are going in the right direction. Like, all of these things are just happening inside our own heads all the time. And that's why I think it's so helpful to hear what other creatives have learned in their journey. It's a huge part of why I do this podcast in general, but also why I want to do this specific episode, because it makes us feel a lot less alone. It helps us to see how other people navigate the things that we are struggling with, and it saves us from making those same mistakes ourselves. So when I do interview artists and makers on this podcast, I always ask them, what is the biggest lesson you have learned about branding your passion? And while those answers are so helpful on their own and alongside each artist's story, I also thought it would be really fun to compile those answers together and see what we can learn from the commonalities, the differences between them, and just kind of get one big dose of inspiration, motivation, lesson learning all together. So let's dive in and hear from a bunch of different artists on the biggest lessons they have learned about branding their passion. Hello and welcome to Brand Your Passion, the show that helps you turn the thing you love the most into the thing people know and love you for. If you're an artist or maker who is ready to get more eyes on your work, more engagement in your audience, and more creativity in your life, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Holly Arnett, the brand strategist and coach for creatives, and it's time to brand your passion. Firstly, we're going to start with Ruby Jones. Ruby is an illustrator based in Wellington, New Zealand, who likes to make art that shines a little bit of light on everyday moments and reminds us what it means to be human.
I think, I don't want this to sound like a negative one, but I think I've learned that if you do work that appears like really soft and feminine and caring, people often think that you will happily work for free. And I feel like businesses often want to also use that to their advantage. So I guess I've just learned to be wary and to actually, I don't know, just remembering to hold on to what your work means to you and not letting people take you for a ride, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Lame as it sounds, I think at the end of the day, remembering what the work is that makes you happiest and what you love making, because the minute you try and feed into what you think other people want or what the algorithm wants, I feel like you're just going to end up kind of miserable. And I feel like that can also come through in your work. If you're not loving it, people can tell that, you know?
Yeah, amazing. Next up, we have Daisy Braid, also known as DIY Daisy, who is a content creator, textile artist, and author. Daisy is a self-taught sewist known for her colourful, creative style that combines handmade clothing with fairly made and second-hand fashion.
I think my advice would be to spend time figuring out who you are. So it's so easy to look around and see what everyone else is doing. And it's so easy to copy people or to be influenced by what they're doing. But I think if you want to have your own brand and you want to stand out and be unique in some way, you have to know who you are, like deep down inside of your soul. You have to always like be yourself in a way. So it does take time to develop your own look and feel and brand and voice, and it just comes with time. And mine has developed so much as I've gotten older and made more and met more people. And it doesn't come from just being all alone. You have to go and experience things. But I think if you're trying to be yourself and be like honest and authentic, then your brand will make so much more sense to people. But if you are trying to look or create content or make the same things as other people, it will always feel like someone else. You can evolve. Your brand might not look the same as it did 10 years ago. It's okay to evolve and change. Like if I still had my original logo, I would hate it.
Yeah.
It's okay to change and try new things when you are working towards your brand. It takes time to like get to the one now, but right now I'm like, this is my branding and it feels so authentically me. It feels so much like who I am right now that I think I could probably use this for the next 5 to 10 years and it would still work. I can change the colors, but I feel like this is going to be with me for a while and it's going to feel like it fits. So I think it's okay to change and evolve.
Now let's hear from Meg Lewis, a designer, comedian, and performer working to make the world a happier place with design, comedy, performance, education, novelty fonts, and so much more. Meg specializes in transforming serious corporate worlds into delightful, intentional playgrounds.
I think my favorite thing is to stop looking to see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
We're constantly, I think we're taught so early on to, like, if you want to do something, go out and look to see what the successful people are doing and then do what they're doing. But my goodness gracious, that does not, that formula works for them. It's not going to work for you. And we all need, like, I have to constantly stop myself from looking at Pinterest, for example, if I'm trying to get inspiration for, no, because then I am just as guilty as anybody. If I do that, I'll make work that looks like those other people. And oops. And so it's like and again, talking about portfolio sites, it's, I think what we all do is we go and we look like, what is a portfolio site look like? So we go and we look at other people's, and then we kind of just like do that, but with ours. And it's just, that's another way in which we all just end up conforming and becoming the same person. And it's another way that we kind of just become beholden to trends, which, you know, trends exist in order to sell more things. Like, trends exist so that we feel a discontent with how we look and at what we're doing with ourselves. Like so that we feel like we're behind all the time and we need to buy more things to catch up. And if we're constantly just looking at what everybody else is doing and just doing that too, we're just like a part of that trend following cycle. And so if we can figure out who we are that's separate from other people and find a way to communicate who we are as individuals visually within ourselves and to communicate our personality and our lifelong points of inspiration that don't have anything to do with trends that are happening right now, if we can figure out how we can just create a career and explore that and share it visually with other people, then we can show the world that we're doing something unique and interesting, and we'll probably end up becoming the people that everybody else looks at and studies what we're doing, but they shouldn't. But we know that, like, the people that are actually at changing culture and like actually catalyzing this like wonderful, beautiful change in the world are doing things that are unique, that are refreshing and incredible and unlike anybody else. And the rest of everybody is just sort of like trying to conform because they feel like they're not good enough. And that's so sad. So I think that that's my one thing, is to just try and find a way to figure out who you are outside of what the world's telling you should be like or who you should be, and try to identify who you actually are and try. It's the world's hardest thing. Most people can't do it, but try to be as loud as possible with whoever that is.
Next up, Jessica Hish. Jessica is a lettering artist working in branding, film and television, book design, and advertising. She's also a New York Times best-selling children's book author and illustrator, and recently opened 2 physical stores in Oakland, Jessica Hish and Friends and Drawling.
I think I get real philosophical about this because my feelings about your personal brand or like whatever, I dive super deep into sort of almost like spiritual stuff where I like have no idea what happens at the end of this life. You know, like it'd be super cool if we all ended up in some happy place or whatever, you know, like whatever positive message is out there about what happens after you die. Great. I mean, that'd be icing on the cake. But I know that if nothing happens, the only thing that you have is the impression that you've left in the world. You know, like that's that's like, if there's no way to live on because it doesn't exist, you will live on by the things that you've created and the things that you say about yourself, or, you know, post about yourself or create or whatever. And so I'm very conscious of that. And I think that that's why I approach all this stuff with like a trying to be as genuine and true to myself as possible. Not everyone does that because they're able to really compartmentalize like who they are from who their work is, and they don't need those two things to be aligned all the time. And that's fine. It's a completely fine approach. But I think for me, I just think like if someone was trying to get to know who I am as a person in the future, what evidence would they be looking at? You know, and I always want that evidence to be a reflection of my truth. And so I'm very curatorial about like what gets said and whatever. And so my brand is like me. Like I just want people to know me. I want, if people unearth projects that I've made or things that I've written or posts that I've done, I want them to feel like they're getting a sense of who I really am. And like, I think you can approach it from two ways in terms of like branding your passions or passion projects or whatever, but that's the approach that I have. And I feel like it works for me and my values. But just do whatever feels the most true to yourself and like what you want. If you're someone that wants to keep yourself to yourself, you know, like that doesn't want the world to know everything about you, that's definitely totally valid as well. But I just think of it as like, if people meet me, does their expectation of me align with the real me? And I want it to. And that's sort of how I approach it.
It's Elizabeth Hoody's time, aka the Peach Fuzz, who is a loudmouth illustrator and crafty little bitch trying to make socialist business practices and resource sharing the new norm.
The only way you will fail is if you stop. That is the one that I give like most often, because it's true. Like eventually, statistically speaking, you know, like you will take off. You will, growth is supposed to be exponential. The more people that know about you, the more people that can tell their friends about you, then like, you know, on and on and on. So the only way that doesn't happen is if you quit chasing it. That's my big thing. It's just like, you have to keep going. You have to know that like it will get better.
Okay, now for Eliza Williams. Eliza is a multidisciplinary creative who, like many of us, struggles to narrow down what she does. But if you happen to make her write it down in a form for your podcast or something, she will say that she specializes in illustration, animation, and design. Her work takes on many different forms, combining digital and traditional mediums to create a colorful little world to escape to and explore.
Gosh, that's such a hard question to think of just one.
I
I think my number one piece of advice for people would be, as cheesy as it sounds, be yourself and put the work out that you want to put out, and then people will come and people connect with that. I think that's like the main thing. As long as you're being yourself and being consistent, that's all. Just be you.
Incredible. It's the perfect piece of advice. I love it. If you're enjoying learning from other creatives, you would love the Brand Your Passion Collective. In this community for artists and makers, you will connect, collaborate, and celebrate with your fellow creatives as you build your brands together. You will learn from each other, support each other, and also have me on your side for questions, feedback, cheerleading, and anything else you need to make your dream creative business happen. If you've been looking for a community of creatives, you have found it. Come and join us at brandyourpassion.co or head to the link in the show notes. Now let's get back to the show. Let's kick this second half off with Ellie Compton. Ellie is an architect and artist who runs a Christchurch-based art studio called Maker of Chaos. She collects people's life stories and weaves them into chaotic and whimsical worlds of art that encourage imagination and discovery.
I would first actually touch on what kind of language you want to be speaking in. And when I say that, I mean, if I was to think about how I want my brand to be portrayed, I want it to be like your best mate. I want it to be a bit sassy, a bit edgy, like fun, but kind and approachable. So like, I would probably suggest come up with like 5 or so words that are descriptors of how you would want to be portrayed or how you want someone to describe you and your business. And then out of that, I think a lot of the design elements can kind of come, like, you know, your logo, whether you create it or someone else creates it, they've immediately got a framework of how it's going to be portrayed. Your coloring often will come from like your art itself or your business anyway. But yeah, I would start with the language. That's probably where I would start. And that kind of gives a whole personality to your brand, like immediately. Yeah.
You've been listening to my podcast, Ellie.
Sorry, did I say it word for word? I wasn't trying to.
No, but it's great.
Okay,
I
cool.
love that advice. Okay, next up is Itzel Islas. Itzel's work is inspired by Mexican culture, vibrant color palettes, and playful elements of everyday life. As a freelance graphic designer and illustrator, her mission has been to create a positive, bicultural impact through design.
The biggest lesson that I've learned, definitely try to be your most authentic self, because people really, really resonate with that. I think if you're pretending to be someone you're not, or you're trying to follow a certain trend, I don't know how, but people can tell. And so I just always try to encourage people to just be genuine with the work they do. Try to think of what makes you happy, what sparks joy, connect to your middle school, high school self, and try to go back and pull from that for experience and inspiration. I have found that has been the biggest lesson for me of having people resonate with my work. And I think the other thing would be to be nice. Being nice has taken me so far. It seems something so simple, but just being nice and being patient, because obviously growing a following or building a brand or getting anywhere takes a lot of work and a lot of patience and time. It's taken me since I started over 10 years to be the designer that I am today. So I always like to remind people to try to be patient, because nothing happens overnight.
Let's hear from Cassie King. Cassie is a multidisciplinary creative, dabbler of all arts and crafts, and lover of colour and upcycling. She ran her own business, Cassie King Designs, until early 2024, when she closed it down to focus on finding a healthy work-life balance and pursuing other professional aspirations.
Don't let the noise of social media stop you from sharing what you want to share. I think it comes back to that authenticity. I don't know if you get those videos where they're like, do this and, I reached this many accounts, or do this and I reached this many accounts. Don't chase the algorithm. You'll never beat it. You'll never understand it. Even Instagram doesn't understand it. Post what you like and you will find your people, I think. And just be yourself.
Yeah, I love that.
No one else can be you. You might sell the same thing as someone else. You might make a similar thing as someone else, but what the other person doesn't have is your personality.
Yeah. Next up, we have Phlox, a New Zealand artist and business owner currently in her 20th year. She specializes in hand-painted commissions, large-scale murals, and producing seasonal luxury bag and personal stationery collections.
That's a hard one. I think not to look too far ahead, how we were talking before about the baby steps and, setting some goals and but not too many, baby steps. And also I think in the beginning, prepare to do the mahi, you're gonna have your fingers in some pies, and I think it's really good to keep doors open. I've always said to students that I work with in the workshops, and this question comes up a fair amount, and it's good to keep doors open. And like if for example, if you're studying fashion design, that doesn't mean you have to be a fashion designer. It's going to give you a whole bunch of skills that you're going to be able to cross over into pretty much any other artistic discipline you want. So I just feel like you don't have to have a career or a single career these days. Everything really crosses over, and it's okay to put something down and start something up again, because I feel like nothing ever goes to waste in certainly in the creative sector. And I think that a lot of the skills that you can learn from one course or from one part can, translate completely across to a number of different disciplines. So fingers in the pies,
Yeah.
definitely. Be prepared to do the mahi, and just write some goals and be kind to yourself.
Okay, we're almost towards the end, but let's hear now from Sophie Holt, an artist and illustrator with a real love for clay. Born in New Zealand but raised in the Netherlands studying graphic design, she returned to discover her roots and fell in love with the country all over again. Since setting up Studio Soph in 2015, she has been making a living creating art.
Oh, wow. To keep playing is a big one.
Yeah.
Like, I really have to take advice myself a bit more. Lately, I've been really, doing lots of repetitive things, and I missed it. So I have to take my own advice on that. Like just so with different materials and mediums and stuff. I found that's important. Otherwise, it becomes like the same thing every day. Yeah, I don't know. Like, keep it close to yourself. Like, when I'm doing my branding, I'm always like, well, I used to use my own art on everything. Like, with, and be proud of it. To share it. Yeah.
And last but not least, from our latest episode, we have Cal Sunshine, a muralist, letterer, and illustrator who spent 17 years creating vibrant work that celebrates the interconnectedness of all living beings. Her distinctive style features lush, retro-inspired color palettes and flowing, curvaceous forms, often centered around soil sorceress protagonists that embody the earth's wisdom and magic.
It's probably a cliche, and it's probably a cliche for a reason, but being your own voice, it's kind of the only way to be good at being a human, and it's kind of the only way to be good at being an artist is to not try and be someone else's voice. And that's freaking hard these days, especially, like I said, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of information available, but always trying to come back home to that. Okay, no, yes, their work's awesome. Yes, I'd like to draw like that, but I don't. I draw like I draw.
Yes.
And just trying to always kind of lean back into your own voice. I'm sure that you've had so many other guests say the same thing for good reason. It's just working out what is important to you and doing that, and that's when I feel the most balanced, like the pendulum swinging in the middle there. It's like, okay, this is me, this is what's important, and then you're fueled by that, and your best work will hopefully come out. Not always, though. Sometimes it's just shit.
Yeah, but that's part of the process too.
Absolutely.
Okay, wow. How incredible, how amazing to hear from all of these artists all together. If you did enjoy this episode, I have done this before for the first time a couple of years ago in episode 87. There you can hear what lessons have been learned by creatives like Pepper Raccoon, Whitney Manny, and so much more. So scroll back and head to episode 87 to listen to that. Otherwise, I hope you have really enjoyed this episode, enjoyed getting a dose of inspiration. As I mentioned, if you are enjoying learning from other creatives, you would truly love the Brand Your Passion Collective. All the details are in the link below. We would love to have you, and it truly is the coolest, best community of artists and makers you will ever find. So head to brandyourpassion.co or check out the link in the show notes. Until next time, keep being creative, and I will see you later. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Brand Your Passion. If you enjoyed this one, it would mean the world to me if you could share it on social media and make sure to tag me at Maker and Moxie so that I can see and share it too. It really does help to get the show out there, which means that we can all work towards that Maker and Moxie vision of making the world a more creative place, one brand at a time. Thanks so much in advance, and I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, keep creating.